Hello and welcome to the June 15 development update for Sketchy Tactics game engine. I'm going to show two things today. One is multi-mode weapons, so multiple damage mode weapons. That was a bunch of behind-the-scenes work. We're in kind of a behind-the-scenes work phase right now, adding a lot of capabilities to the weapons and spells to have multiple effects and more complex effects. So I'm going to show that out, and then I'm going to also show, ideally at the same time if possible, a new active effect system which allows for players to get buffed and debuffs, having modifications to their stats that last for a certain amount of turns. So I'll show some enemy debuffs affecting the players and expiration, and then we added some more fight maps as always, getting close to the initial set of 60. So let me set up a demo here. So first of all these changes show up. They do not show up on this screen right now because we leveled up a bunch. Because this is not showing current values right now. It's showing the base values. But we did add them to the weapon overlays for the multi-mode weapons, and then the buffs and debuffs, they don't have a visualization yet. That's a to-do item. So previously, if you remember, we added the base crit and crit scaling capabilities here. So this is our trusty wooden sword. Here's our test R&D weapon. This is a multi-mode weapon. It has a high base crit. It has a crit damage increase, and it has multiple damage modes. One here is a 1 to 5 neutral damage. The second one is actually a steal, so that's going to do 1 to 2 red damage, but it's going to heal the player for the amount of damage dealt. So there's sort of a life steal or vamp capability that can be added to weapons now. So let's see here. I'm going to fight this person. They're not going to do any debuffs, just to show you a couple things for comparison when we get into the active effect piece. So first thing you'll notice here, we should go first. We have a pretty large range on this ability. It's a 6, I believe. Yep, 6 on this ability. And that is a range modifiable ability. This guy's going to get to us anyway because he can jump. So we took 2 damage. We're at 48 now. We're going to attack with our R&D staff. And notice that we healed 1 of the hit points. So it hit for 5 on the first mode, 1 on the second mode, and that recovered a hit point as well. 5, 2, and 2, so we're at full health again. And I'm showing you the... Oh, boom, dead. I'm showing you the range on that spell because we are going to find and fight an enemy who's going to debuff us. So, anyway, that's the multi-mode weapons. Again, not the most exciting demo, but huge amount of code changes to get there. So we have to pass all those modes around, figure out how the crit's going to interact, do the message wiring, etc., etc. Here's a good one. So this support enemy currently has debuffs. And this required creating a whole active effect tracker, the countdowns, expirations, affecting the stats inside combat, not outside of combat, dealing with how they refresh duration, and then also for the enemies working the capability into the action planner and scoring according to how they want to do the debuff. So that was a lot of work as well. So showing the range on this again, because when that support gets close to us, we are going to get debuffed. And that's going to affect our range. So let's wail on this guy in the meantime. So, not close enough yet. It'll be in range next turn. Here we go. Boom. So we just got hit with disorientation and nearsightedness. So I can't highlight the disorientation yet, but that is a crit chance reduction. So that's actually going to reduce the amount of crit that we do on both weapons and spells. But you will see that we lost 3 range. So we have a maximum 3 range now on this ability. Now we'll show the expiration. So he's low on health, and his plan told him to head for the hills. So we'll fight this guy now. And there we go. Disorientation expired, nearsightedness expired. So we are back to full range on our ability because the range debuff is gone. And this turn, we'll finish this guy off. Boom. Oh, we leveled up. So there you go. So those were both 3-turn effects, which it announced when it applies them. They expired. It does not last out of combat, so obviously that's all limited to the fight. If I were to go pick a fight with this guy now, you will see the full range effect back on, and the crit chance as well. Although, as I said, you won't see the crit chance right now because it does not estimate that at the moment without a target. So there's our full range Tangle Grass. Oh. This weapon is absurdly overpowered. So I'll check my notes real quick. So those are the changes. As a consequence of that, the way the multi-mode everything works, I would have to do some very complicated stuff to continue supporting the punch, which is what you do when you don't have a weapon equipped. So now you do actually have to have a weapon equipped to fight. You can't do an attack action with your bare hands, which really does not matter at all. I guess it's slightly a flavor fail, but it makes no sense. There's no circumstance in which you want to do that. It just gave you an attack in case you forgot to equip anything, but now you really just want to equip something. I probably could reintroduce it, but it's a lot of work for something that really shouldn't exist. So there you go, multi-mode weapons, which gives us a lot of ability to play with scaling and power levels and opens up a whole bunch of extra crafting space. More about that later. Punching removed, weapon hovers updated. I did a lot of behind-the-scenes improvements to the early combat system as well along the way. That's a constant theme. And then we have enemies debuffing the players, supporting range, crit chance, etc. So the next step is to take the active effect model, apply it to the enemy, give the players buffs and debuffs for the enemies as well. And then we're going to do some kind of mid-fight overlay to show the buffs and debuffs, probably with like an icon or something like that that's clickable for an explanation of the effect that it's having. So that's it for this week. Again, extremely large amount of code files changed, despite the fact that it's a pretty short demo. I'm actually going to pull it up here because I'm always curious about this. So let's see, about 30. Some of this will overlap, but probably in the neighborhood of 40 code files changed. Let's see, 37 code files changed, and a couple hundred lines of code. So that's it. So yeah, we're going to continue building on these capabilities, and once that's all complete, we're moving on to the quest expansion for the intro content. And then I'm also continuing to work on kind of gamebook design input, etc., and looking into options for the art side of it. So thanks for watching. Peace. Catch you next week.